Thank you, and good morning to everybody. Since coming into office 534 days ago, I have spoken often about our hopes for New Orleans. We have said many times that we are not rebuilding the city that we were, but we are together building the city that we want to become. We want to be a safe city where every resident can get a good paying job and where every child has the opportunity and access to an excellent public education, a city whose government is open, is honest, and effective. We're making good progress on all those fronts. We are now on the right track. But to accomplish these goals, it is imperative that we stay the course. Across the nation and here in our city, we are in the midst of a fundamental shift in how we do business. Government at all levels must get smaller, more efficient, but still deliver high-quality services. Across the country, in nearly every city, big or small, budgets are being slashed, and government is being forced to adjust to this new reality. Business as usual is simply fiscally unsustainable. According to the National League of Cities, in the wake of this recession, 90% of all cities have significantly slashed spending and services. In Milwaukee and New York City, teachers are being laid off. In Camden, New Jersey, over 200 police officers and firefighters may lose their jobs. Dallas is cutting its city workforce by 500 employees. And every American city, including New Orleans, is struggling to deal with health care costs and huge unfunded pension obligations that will continue to grow every day. But what added to our budget pressure in New Orleans is that since Katrina, the city has habitually spent more money than it took in. As you know, the budget we inherited including a $100 million budget hole. These savings accounts held $0, zero. And hundreds of millions in one-time money and federal funding had been spent, gone. So in our first 6 months in office, we were called upon to stop the bleeding, to plug the hole. And we did it. We didn't panic. We took a steady, balanced approach. We began by cutting aggressively, but smartly, with a scalpel, not a hatchet. And we succeeded. Together, we dramatically cut spending by renegotiating contracts, from the largest garbage contracts to the Xerox copy room in the basement of City Hall. We furloughed all city employees, including myself and the individual standing beside me. We sharply reduced take-home cars and reorganized departments from health to code enforcement. And at the same time, in our first full fiscal year, we presented a balanced budget. We worked hard to deliver high-quality services based on the priorities that the citizens of New Orleans shared with us at community meetings across our city. We heard the people of this city say, rebuild Nord, give our kids more recreational and job opportunities. So we doubled the funding for Nord and for Job One. As a result, we had a record-breaking summer with over 4,000 kids registering for summer camp, shattering the 2009 numbers by 140%, meaning that 2,500 more kids were off the streets doing something productive with their free time and remaining safe. For the first time ever, we had 17 camps available and provided jobs to over 2,000 teenagers. Plus, throughout the summer and fall, everyone had a great time at our new Movies in the Park events being held throughout the city. Those are good results. Last year, we heard we need more and better jobs. So we effectively started a public-private partnership, the NOLA Business Alliance. Since taking office, we have partnered with and helped generate over 2,000 new jobs, including Blade Dynamics, Folgers, the Hyatt, TCI, and the new pedicab industry, and there's more. Now we're even attracting retail, like Costco at Carrollton and Palmetto, Fresh Markets at St. Charles in Louisiana, and the new Walmart coming in Gentilly. We also launched a robust Office of Supplier Diversity so that the people of New Orleans are the ones rebuilding New Orleans, and so that our traditionally disadvantaged businesses are at the table for billions of dollars of investments that are going on right now. Last year, we heard fix our streets. So citywide, we filled over 46,000 potholes We repaired over 10,000 streetlights, and we cleaned over 1,000 catch basins. Last year, when I asked the people, when is the day to get aggressive about blight, you, the people, said now. So we invested an unprecedented $16 million in the fight against blight. Our efforts have paid off. In 2009, the city had demolished only 170 properties. This last year, we have demolished over 1,600 blighted units in the city of New Orleans, and we're moving over 1,000 properties to sheriff sales auctions. People across the city said get serious about enforcement, particularly establishments that serve alcohol. So we did. We got on it. In 2009, the city only prosecuted 32 cases for ABO violations. This year alone, we initiated over 200 cases. In 2011, in addition to reducing the cost of our sanitation contracts, we also added recycling because that's what the people asked for. And today, nearly 30,000 households in New Orleans are going green and are recycling. We're taking on tax cheats, and we're making sure everybody is paying their fair share. We hired more auditors and collectors in 2011. As a result, we're up in sales tax collections, hotel-motel collections, and in fees for occupational licenses. Overall, we are focused on quality of life and trying to do the little things right. That's why we launched an aggressive anti-bandit sign initiative to clear up illegal signs that are dotting streets, sidewalks, and neutral grounds. Over 15,623 of these eyesores have been removed. Since January, we have trimmed 3,000 trees, removed 12,300 tires from abandoned lots, and cleared 745 illegal dumping sites. We did good work this past year, and we got back on the right track. And now that we're on the right track, now that we have structurally sound budgets that invest in citizens' priorities, now that we have plugged the hole and stabilized the ship, we are moving in the right direction. And now it is time to stay the course. There is still a lot of very hard work for all of us to do. Using a common sense approach of cutting smart, reorganizing, and then investing in the future, we are once again proposing a balanced budget that funds the same priorities that we all share. Our commitment in this budget to public safety remains strong. Our focus on job creation is steady. Our effort to rid the city of blight continues. Our commitment to NORD stays robust. And the work to fix the basics, our streets and our streetlights, will go on. We are staying the course. Within the framework of this budget, we will continue to give the taxpayers of this city a better value for their hard-earned money. For too long, the people have paid too much and gotten too little. What does value added mean? What does it look like? Let's take blight as an example again. We heard from the people of this city that blight was a priority. So we set an ambitious goal of eliminating 10,000 blighted properties in 3 years. We established the way to manage our performance. It's called BlightStat. Every 2 weeks, all of the managers and city workers that have anything to do with blight get in the same room and work together. We look at the data, we ask questions, we talk through issues, and we listen to neighbors who come to the meeting and who participate. In 2010, when we came in, city blight inspectors conducted only 200 inspections every 2 weeks. Now, with our new system, BlightStat, we conduct about 1,000 inspections every 2 weeks. Same people, same inspectors, working smarter and faster, producing 5 times more inspections and getting better results. All because we made it a priority, set a goal, and asked the right questions. That's called getting better value. And we're doing it across departments and priorities. But we still have a lot of work to do. Once again, over the past few months, we held 7 public budget meetings in every council district and asked the citizens what they wanted and what their priorities were. The turnout was great. The tone and the content of the meetings was even better. And I want to thank the people of New Orleans for coming to those meetings and helping us. We spent hours listening to your concerns and suggestions, and once again, we heard what you said. That's why this year's budget makes strategic cuts to root out inefficiency, waste, and duplication, and invest in priorities to make government better. In times like these, it is so important to invest in what really matters. So we will invest in public priorities. Public safety is tops among them. We must invest in public safety because without safety, there is no freedom. So we have increased the percentage of our budget dedicated to public safety because that is our #1 priority. In this budget, police is funded at a robust force of 1,353 sworn officers, which means that we will have more officers per capita than most cities in the country. This means that while many other departments across the country are having to lay off police, this budget includes no layoffs for NOPD. And this budget funds a new class of 30 recruits that will start their training in January, including using our $2.7 million COPS grant, which allows us to increase the number of homicide detectives that we have on the force. The district attorney's proposed allocation is stable. We're budgeting more for the coroner. We're adding funding for a pretrial services program. And we will once again use general fund dollars to supplement the work of the public defender. The public once again said that recreation is a priority. So we must invest in our kids or else this city has no future. Last year, as you know, we doubled NORD's budget. This year, we protect that investment, so NORD once more will get $10 million to provide meaningful opportunities for our kids. And we're doubling down on our efforts to fight blight. Thanks to our work with FEMA, they have dedicated $23 million more for demolitions and deconstruction of dangerous blight that was flooded in Katrina. We'll continue to expand our lot maintenance pilot program, which is employing 12 local residents in the lower 9th Ward to cut overgrown lots. And there's funding to keep our aggressive use of code lien foreclosures where we are seeing great results. In total, we have more than ever to fight blight in 2012. This will keep us on pace to reduce blight by 10,000 properties by 2014. But it's not all good news. We have major long-term outstanding liabilities. Consider this. For every dollar in the city budget, we spend over 1/4 on pension, health care, and debt payments. And these cost pressures continue to rise each year. Because of skyrocketing health care costs and growing pension obligations, particularly the firefighters' pension fund, many departments will be budgeted with less in our proposed budget. What does that mean? We will reduce spending for nearly every other agency and department. Everyone will feel the pinch, including the mayor's office and the city council. We will do this strategically and believe we can do so without mass layoffs and/or furloughs. In keeping with our balanced approach, we will continue to reorganize our government to make it leaner and more effective. This past year, our health department saved resources by transitioning out of the direct primary health care business. Instead, our partners who run the network of community clinics now provide accessible, quality, and affordable care. In 2012, we will continue this transition by phasing out dental care. In the last 2 years, we've been able to cut the health department's budget nearly in half, while at the same time transforming the department into one of the best practices that can tackle the pressing public health problems of the day, from childhood obesity to mental health to violence. Additionally, we will eliminate duplication and co-locate the staffs of 2 similar commissions who share a commitment to the preservation of our city's great character, the Historic District Landmark Commission and the Vieux Carré Commission. They now will be located with the City Planning Commission. Having the staffs in the same place, the administration, architects, urban planners, zoning specialists, and inspectors will help streamline similar operations and provide the taxpayers with a far greater value. But in 2012, we will go even further, reorganizing the city's cumbersome permit process to institute one-stop shopping. It's a simple concept. If you need a permit, there should be no confusion. Just one office, one person, one set of rules, one stop. It will not cost a lot of money to implement, but it will do wonders. We'll launch it in early 2012. Our balanced budget approach calls for us to cut, to reorganize, and to invest. So while we've cut and reorganized, we've also been aggressive in competing for and winning an unprecedented $67 million in federal and philanthropic funds. With our strategic match fund in 2012, we hope to bring in even more. We also have to invest in roads and infrastructure to stay strong and to be competitive. And so today we will present to the Council a capital budget with over $286 million to be used for rebuilding the great city of New Orleans. Because of our work with FEMA in the last year, we have increased federal funding for our projects and streets by over $200 million. In 2012, we are budgeted to move forward on dozens of public facilities like Allie Mae Williams Multi-Service Center in Central City, pools in St. Roch and Gertown, over $6 million for playgrounds across the city, fire engines in New Orleans East, Gentilly and the 7th Ward, and multiple police stations throughout the city will see improvements. This is on top of our already large number of ongoing improvement projects like Harrell Center in Holly Grove, Robert Smith Library in Lakeview, Rosenworld Center in Central City, St. Roch Market, Starlings, St. Claude Center, the Milne Boys Home in Gentilly, Wesley Barrow Stadium, Joe W. Brown Memorial Park, New Orleans East Regional Library, the Sanchez Center in Lower 9, and the Algiers Regional Library, and streets across the city. Now this year, like cities all over the country, we face new, even more daunting challenges, but we will continue our momentum. We will continue to use a balanced, steady approach to cut smart, to reorganize, and to invest so that we can be safe, have good jobs, good schools for our kids, and a city that we can be proud of. To do this, we all have to work hard, and we all must stay the course. Thank you very much. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you have.
With the consolidation of HDLC and Craig Commission into city planning, will other departments or those commissions lose any staffers?
You want to take it in?
We anticipate that the current staff of both of those organizations will be able to be retained. They've struggled in the past couple of years with the inability to do all of their requirements because each of them has to have administrative staff to do purchasing, to answer the phones. So consolidating them in one place will allow us to be much more efficient in the allocation of the existing resources.
Are they actually being merged, or are they just being located in the same physical space?
They'll be co-located. Those boards are, independent. They have different responsibilities, but the staff will work together in a much more integrated way to support those boards and their missions.
Right. Are you asking for the property tax roll forward in this budget?
Yes.
About $4 million, is that correct? Yields about $4 million.
The rates are going to stay the same as they were last year. That's our anticipation.
So it's not an increase in taxes?
The rates are going to stay the same.
Any sales tax or anything?
Major fee, stay the same proposals?
Everything's going to stay the same. We're going to stay the course. Y'all heard that?
We did, but we haven't seen the budget. So
No,
it's
I
like
understand.
asking
No,
questions
but-
about something that you haven't seen.
No, I understand. But when you, that's fine. We're going to stay the course. They know the property tax rates are going to stay the same. The sales tax rates are going to stay the same. And we're going to manage with what we have.
The total budget, is it 480?
Andy's gonna give
It's
you
$494.8 million of general funds, and then there's, of course, federal funds that are on top of that. But the one we usually talk about is the $494.8 million in city general fund.
It's not the capital budget.
And then you also spoke a lot about public safety and how we are investing in this. Why?
Well, I mean, obviously, making the city safe is the most important thing. We actually got some criticism in a lot of our public meetings about public safety taking up such a large portion of our budget. At the moment, though, we think that that is the right thing to do because we're just not just talking about police, but we're talking about the entire system. So the police, the DA, the indigent defender system, the sheriff as well. And as we continue to try to manage how those different agencies work with each other, I just thought it was important that we made the statement that having the right resources there was absolutely necessary because making the city safe is everybody's top priority by far. Yes.
Two questions about
Sure.
NOPD. Last year's budget, when the city council passed it, included money for a recruit class, but apparently it's not going to happen until January of 2012, correct?
We have a new recruit class starting in January of 2012.
So what happened to that funding that was in last year's budget for the recruit class?
That was.
So last year's budget faced two big challenges, one of which was specific to the NOPD. Their pension funds went up by $7 million in the current year, so we've had to pay for that this year. In addition, we had employer health care costs that every single department, including the police, had to absorb. And so in absorbing those increased costs, they had to put off some things until next year. But we're confident that we've got those numbers well built into the budget. We're controlling our health care costs as well as possible. And so, again, as the mayor said, that new recruit class will begin in January. It's first, so we are actually, unlike most cities in the country, we are hiring police officers.
Yeah, it's really worth noting as y'all think through this and you report it. In context, we are, although we're not out of the woods, and this is not easy, most other cities around the country right now are facing significant layoffs in public safety, in police, and in fire. As you may recall, when we first came in, the police department was going to be out of money in October, and a lot of dramatic steps were taken. I want to thank the chief and Tim McConnell, who's here with the fire department, Jerry Sneed, for working both with police and fire to help do the hard things first. So that's why we feel like we're in a more stable, much better position than we were last year. And like every other city in America, we're going to have to work through this difficult time and hopefully become more robust as time goes on. You had two.
Two.
No, she had two.
It's just,
Okay.
it's just a follow-up.
Sure.
On those lines, 1,300 police officers.
1,353.
Yes. That's still a lot fewer than even, the previous superintendent and the previous mayor were pushing for. I think they were trying to get us up to 1,700. So what does that mean for the state of our police force?
Well, I would say two things about it. First of all, again, in context, we actually have more police officers per capita than most cities in America. Every city in America that you talk to, every police chief, every mayor would like to have a lot more than they have right now. But financially, we just can't make that happen. On top of that, where we really want to focus our attention is on making sure the people that we have are really producing a great value. So much like I gave you the example about our blight team and how the same number of people is producing a much better result. That's where we're going to focus our attention right now. And although I'm not completely happy with where we are right now, I'm much more pleased that I'm in this position and not in the position that some other mayors are around the country where they're actually laying off hundreds of police officers as well. I'll let the chief speak to the issue, sure.
And what is, I know you have the new software system trying to reallocate resources. Is that going to be a hurdle for you?
No. Let me be very, very clear. I'm incredibly encouraged by the fact that we're holding on to 1,353 staff and going to start a new class in January with 30 so that we can build up the homicide unit as our grant request to cops was. That software package was successful. If this was a perfect world, it tells us we'd need 1,575. This is not a perfect world. Let me be clear and share this with you. A recent survey of 400 police departments in America was conducted. 85% of those departments have had to slash their budgets, with nearly half of them having to lay off people and furlough people. For the people of New Orleans, this is an encouraging day that we're maintaining the staff that we have. We continue to drill for greater efficiencies. In 2012, we're going to be looking at other strategies to reduce the call demand so that the officers can be even more focused on violent crime and neighborhood development and growth. So I'm incredibly encouraged right now by what we're going to be working with in 2012.
Ariella, and then Camille, and then I know off topic we'll take after.
The city in the past has talked about the need for the sewage and water board to get more resources. Does that mean that the city supports the roll forward of the sewage and water
Yes.
board millage? And does anyone in the city know how many, by how many points the millage will be rolled forward?
No, I don't have it, but again, whatever the rates are today, they will be next year.
Camille.
Mr. Mayor, you talked about some city hall layoffs. You're trying to do it without furloughs and without layoffs, but will there be some?
Well, let me again try to put this in context for you. Last year, when we found ourselves with a gargantuan budget hole, we tried everything we could do to avoid layoffs. It was the last thing on the list. So I've been through the list many times, renegotiating contracts, and you've seen it, and you've heard it, and you've all written about it, and I thank you for covering it really, really well. When we got down to the last $4 or $5 million, there was no way to close the budget hole, and so we had to really make a value decision. And the decision tree was, are you going to lay off 500 people, or are you going to furlough 4,500 people? The numbers kind of work out about the same. We thought it was really important not to cut foolishly. So there's cut smart and there's cut foolish. There's cut with a scalpel and there's cut with a hatchet. And one of the things that I really am very aggressive about is making sure that as we downsize government, which is going to continue to happen, that we do it in a smart way and we do it in a thoughtful way. And massive layoffs that are the result of emergencies will always weaken your ability to grow back strongly when the economy changes, and knock on wood, it will sooner rather than later. So last year, I basically ordered what I would consider to be a massive furlough. And massive means an across the board, everybody is taking the same kind of hickey. Or it could have been a massive layoff. That is not in this budget. It's not proposed, and I do not anticipate that happening. Now, let's stop there and let's speak to something else. You hear me speak a lot, and I do it over and over and over again because I want to make sure that you eventually will know the answers to your questions before you ask them, is that the approach that we take to governing in everything that we do is first to cut smart. Now, what that means is we believe that there is always duplication, inefficiency, ineffectiveness, waste, fraud, abuse, or just a better way of doing things. And so we will always have situations as we're reorganizing where we may not need as many people in one department as we need someplace else. And so there will always be opportunities for doing more with less people. And so as a consequence, you may see that some people will get laid off from their positions because the job that they did before is not consistent with the new way that we want to do things. So I use the health department as a perfect example of that. When we came in, we said fundamentally, should we be in the business of delivering direct health care to citizens, or can the not-for-profit sector do better? We decided that there was a better model, and as a consequence, Dr. DeSalle will help me here, but I think that we transitioned 60 employees off of the city payroll and helped them find jobs in the private sector, right? So that was a layoff, and that was a dismissal of 60 people. We will do that every day, all day. Now, likewise, you will see that in some areas where we want to invest more in, for example, people said, the city council, you know, you got to do a better job of collecting money. So we hired more auditors, and there will always be that kind of give and take as we move forward. That's a reorganization consequence as opposed to a fiscal emergency consequence. And so this year, again, let me say this, I do not anticipate, based on everything that we know now, a massive order of layoffs or furloughs. I don't expect that to happen. Of course, I can't predict the future. I don't know if we're going to get hit with a terrible hurricane like we did post-Katrina, but all things being equal, and the world being the way it is, 365 days, fairly closely to what we see now, I think we're going to be in pretty good shape. You will, however, see consolidations of different departments or different agencies or different commissions as we move forward. And as a consequence of that, or the civil service reform work that we're beginning to do, you may in fact see us say to certain people, thank you very much, but we don't need a person sitting in that position anymore because now that position is obsolete, or it's being handled by somebody else, or there's a faster and easier way to do it.
Anybody else? One topic? All right, thank you all.
Anything else?
Off topic.
But for the chief or for the mayor?
For both.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm hoping y'all can comment on the murder this past weekend of one of the witnesses in the Telly Hankton trial.
I'll make a brief comment, and then I'll turn it over to the chief. As many of you have heard us say, I believe, and many people in law enforcement believe, Telly Hankton was one of the most dangerous people to ever walk the streets of New Orleans. And it was very good and a very positive step forward that a jury of his peers convicted him. Judge Waldron sentenced him to life. I understand that there are other charges pending against him, and I hope the DA is aggressive with that. We have to continue to be very aggressive about it. So this week, the murder this weekend, again, is a continuation of the kind of street violence and street retaliation that we have seen for a very, very long period of time that we are working very, very hard to get a handle on. I know that the chief and NOPD was on the scene. They've been working on that all weekend. We will continue to pursue that very, very aggressively as we have in the past.
Vanessa, it's a witness is not the victim of this case. It's a witness's brother, we think, is the victim of this case. Since this case came out, we've worked nonstop with our partners in the DA's office and other law enforcement agencies, both state and federal. There is no tolerance for this. We will find the person responsible for this and bring them to justice. And as the mayor said, the Telly-Hankton verdict was a watershed moment for the people of New Orleans, and it is what matters. The criminal justice system functions that way, and we will continue to actively pursue anybody who commits these types of crimes as well as tries to thwart the system. Just last week on Thursday and Friday at the mayor's request, the Homicide Review Commission came to New Orleans to begin the process of training another whole avenue under the leadership of the mayor and Commissioner Carter, Dr. DeSalvo, and our office to look at these murders continually, more holistically. What other resources can be brought to bear to deal with this question in our community?
I have a quick question just on that. Word on the street, if you will, is that Telly-Hankton is still very well operating on the street from behind bars. Is this an example of that, or can you speak to that?
I don't know that I would believe that. I think that it's clear from what's been reported in the newspaper and what occurred in trial is that Telly-Hankton had more than one person in his family who was involved in continuing criminal enterprises. Telly-Hankton is under the control of the Department of Correction, and as a result of that, we work closely with DOC to make sure he's not participating in anything outside of his daily curricular activities in the prison.
Thank you.
And we'll take the last one. Go ahead.
Same topic. You know, this, it seems like it's almost reaching sort of a crisis point. And do you feel it is reaching a crisis point? I mean, we've got Jefferson Parish facing some of the same issues when it comes to witness intimidation. Are you all concerned, and do you feel like you need more resources when it comes to victim witness assistance? I know this guy's not a witness. There's no way to tell that they were going to target his brother, but still, it's terrifying for people.
You know, that's a great question. I was here in the 90s. And the same thing happened then. You may recall that it occurred in 1998, 1999. The cure for this problem is the resolute commitment of the community to stay the course and be part of the criminal justice system. That costs nothing except the commitment of the people who live in this community, and they're doing it. That's what makes it a success.
All right, thank you all.
Wait, I have one more question. Marsh fire?
We don't have
We don't
anything.
know?
We'll get it after.
All right, thank you.
Good.